welcome to Scrollin', a podcast about the Elder Scrolls Online. I'm Ket.
I'm Davius.
This is episode number 37. I guess let's talk about Battlegrounds. So, the Sweaties are back,
The
right?
Swampies are back.
The Swampies.
The Swampies are back.
Right. Yeah,
we just have to keep...
That's what they're all saying.
That's what everyone's saying now. It's totally caught on.
By Sweaties or Swampies, of course. People who haven't been listening for a long time have no idea this dumb inside joke.
What the heck is a swampy match? What does that even mean?
Talking about? There's some episode a while back where I don't even know how it came up, but we were using the word swampy instead of sweaty to refer to really intense Battlegrounds matches. It was funny, trust us. Okay?
And greatness was born. All right,
it
just
was
believe
hilarious. Anyway, by swampies, we mean group battlegrounds. You can make a pre-made battleground group and queue up and fight against other pre-mades. I think not an episode has passed that we haven't complained about the fact that that grouping was taken away from Battlegrounds.
Even though we tried our hardest, but we still somehow we just kind of dropped little hints in there.
I mean, it was basically that was just the game to us, was just grouping up and playing Battlegrounds over and over and over again.
That's exactly what it was to us, but it's still, and we're only a day into this thing. And it still caught me off guard how much I enjoyed group battlegrounds. We hopped in and did a couple, and I still was surprised with how much I actually enjoyed it and how much I missed it. Like those first couple ones made me realize, like, oh man, this is the good stuff right here.
And it was instantly apparent, like, oh yeah, I remember these. I remember these kind of matches. It's been a while.
Oh yeah.
They were so intense, man. So much fun too.
So much.
We were like, I don't know. We were like kids in a candy store, right? Like we didn't know which character to log in with first. It's like, I'm gonna grab this character. Okay, I'm gonna get this character, and then the next match we would go get a different character, and we just couldn't contain ourselves.
Well, it's crazy to think about. I mean, I was thinking about this earlier today. I don't know the exact. Do you know the exact amount of time that we were without group battlegrounds?
It was it the Q1 DLC this year, like back in the spring? That's what I want to say.
About right. So I guess it really hasn't been too long, but it seems like it has been years.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of patches.
Yeah, and there's so many changes to the characters and so many new characters.
It's actually, we were talking about that the other day, that like, you and I both have come such a long way since then. Yes. Like both in our skills and just our characters' builds and stuff like that. And we were having a great time back in those days. Mm-hmm. But I think we're going to have a much better time now just because we're so much better than we were then.
Yes, I've thought a lot about that. So much better characters and just our skill improvement. It really opens the door for some exciting stuff.
Oh yeah, last night was fun. We kind of had the full range of pre-made experiences too. Like yes. Some matches we were just totally getting flattened. Other matches we were the ones doing the flattening. There were a couple that were actually like all three teams are fairly close, pretty intense matches throughout.
And we had a good. I felt like we had a good mixture of the different types of battlegrounds. And you can. I'm not sure your thoughts on this, but I didn't mind it. I didn't mind the different battlegrounds. We had some of the flag stuff. We had capture the relics, and we had a couple of death matches in there, and they were all through the fun. There was a couple flag games that maybe we were playing a little death matchy, if you will. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. You get a hefty enough lead, or if you're losing by enough, then it just becomes death match.
Death match. But they were all, man, it was just so much fun to get back into it. It was fun to get into the sweaty, swampy ones again. It was really cool, as we kind of got into those, kind of shaking the rust off of going back into our strategies and positioning and where we need to be and what angles we need to take.
Yeah, because all that stuff was just like out the window for the past several months, right? Because your teammates are just like all over the place. There's no coordination whatsoever, unless you happen to get lucky once in a while and get some people on your team that kind of know what's up, but it doesn't happen often.
Yeah, it was so exciting to kind of get back into that mindset in some really tough battlegrounds, but they were a lot of fun.
Ah, so much fun, man. What was your favorite? We did a few different pairings last night. What was your favorite that we did?
I knew you were going to ask me this. Goodness. I think my favorite one was the dual stamPlars. Just because
that was fun.
The double jabs was, and it
was unfair. That was one of those. That was the one match where it's like, are we even having fun right now? Like, we're just stomping everyone in sight.
So I was about to say, it wasn't a great match, but it was just so fun to see an entire team just come at us and just double jabs, and it was just like, oh man, that's
we also
tough.
Got lucky, and we had a really good healer on our team as well. Healer. And I think we were the only team that had like a super strong dedicated healer. And yeah, we were just dual jabbing, just mowing down entire teams with this healer, just keeping us alive. It was fun for a while, but then we started feeling sorry for the other players.
That was the pairing that I think I had the most fun with, just because seeing that double jabs in action was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I think I know your favorite pairing, but I'm interested to hear it.
Well, I don't know. Actually, I think my favorite was the classic duo. You're a magPlar healer, and my stamPlar, old Betsy.
The mains.
The mains. The classic duo. I feel like those are the two. Like that, when you and I first started really getting into PvP and like deciding, okay, we're going to get good at PvP. Those are the characters we were kind of latched onto at the time, and
those were the ones.
They make a great. They really do make a great pair.
Oh, it's perfect
I still think that's the case.
Yeah, that's actually, I was going to guess you were going to pick the duo StamSorcs, but I agree with you. That one was a lot of fun. The classic pairing is it's a perfect fit.
Yeah, double StamSorc probably a close second. That's always an awesome time, man. You get those two knuckleheads together, and
it's like two things happening at once. Somehow there's a race happening, just like laps around the map, as well as the same time of killing who can get the most kills going on.
Yeah, it's like when you run circles in a swimming pool and it just creates this cyclone. That's what's happening.
That one was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, dude, StamSorc. Dude, I'm in love with StamSorc. I guess let's talk about StamSorc for a minute, because I can't stop thinking about my StamSorc, Tane, which is spelled like Wayne but with a T.
All caps. Dude, don't forget the all caps.
It's always all caps. Don't you dare put a lowercase letter in this guy's name. Man, this guy is on another plane of existence right now, dude. He's hitting so hard, and he's just so much fun to play, and he's just through and through a StamSorc, like a StamSorc ass StamSorc.
Oh yeah, if there's ever like a steroid outbreak in Nern, Tane is the one. He's gonna be the first one. This dude's on roids. They're gonna figure out that this guy's got the performance enhancing stuff going on.
Yeah. So I talked about him in the last couple of episodes, and I had a build figured out that I wanted to do, and I'm basically still going for that same build, but with one minor difference, which is I'm no longer planning to use this new Ring of the Pale Order, which I still think could be awesome, and I think would be a great fit on a StamSorc. But last week I was playing with my StamSorc, and I've been wanting to try the Torque of Tonal Constancy on him for a long time, because that's obviously the perfect mythic item for a stamina sorcerer. And since I'm waiting for this patch to come out, I had no reason not to just give that a try. Side note, Torque of Tonal Constancy, if you don't have that mythic item already, the easiest farm in this game, I swear.
So easy. Great item,
so easy to get a hold of. And such a cool item, yeah.
I'd always said that was my favorite mythic, and it's probably not anymore. Now we got, we'll talk later about that. But it's maybe the most underrated mythic item, too, I feel like. It really flies under the radar. I might
agree with you now that I've been using it. I might be with you there. So the build now is 5 pieces of Briarheart, which I can't imagine ever unequipping Briarheart from this guy. It's just like fused to him at this point. 5 pieces Sword Dancer with dual precise daggers on the front bar, and then the Master Bow on the back bar. 1 piece Molag Kenna, because basically all my characters have 1 piece Molag Kenna now. And then the Torque of Tonal Constancy. Davis, you use the Torque on your StamSorc, so you can back me up on this. The Torque with Dark Deal is just a thing of beauty, is it not?
It's a match perfectly. That item was made for that ability.
It was made for StamSorc in general, I think, but specifically that ability. It's like I put this thing on, I jump into a BG, and it's like I'm hearing this beautiful Italian opera, and the Torque and Dark Deal are like singing this duet together, and everything is moving in slow motion. Tane is like doing a spin to win execute in super slow mo. You see a close up of his grinning face.
He's got beautiful form.
Yeah,
he's pointing his toes.
All this pretty music's playing. It really is just such a beautiful thing to watch those two things interplay with each other. Because Dark Deal, of course, you're trading Magicka for more stamina, and it's a huge burst heal at the same time. And then the Torque, if you don't remember, when you're below 50% stamina, you get 450 Magicka recovery, and then vice versa. If you're below 50% Magicka, you get 450 stamina recovery. And as a StamSorc, you're constantly trading one resource for the other. You're kind of bouncing back and forth like that all the time. So the Torque is just juicing that up constantly. And Davius, I think in an episode in the past, you described it as like, it's just the resource that you need is always there when you need it. Like, no question. It's just when you need to streak, the magic is there to streak. When you need a Dark Deal, it's there. If you need to roll dodge, sprint, whatever you need to do, the resource is going to be there.
Yes, very much so. It really just is such a great feeling. Because you're getting that buff for whatever the resource that you're usually needing is. You're getting that extra sustain.
Yeah, and I'm not even really trying to plan around it or anything. I'm just kind of playing as a StamSorc, and it's just everything flows and feels so perfectly perfect.
That's a great point. That's probably one of my favorite parts, is that it happens so naturally. You don't have to really plan for it or think about it. It just naturally happens with the playstyle of a StamSorc.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so perfect. So I don't know if I'm the authority that can say this or not, but I feel like this has got to be pretty close to the meta for a StamSorc. Briarheart, Sword Dancer, Master Bow, and the Torque of Tonal Constancy. I feel like if that's not the meta, it's got to be pretty close. Maybe we can consult with the council of ESO meta, see what they have to say. But it's quite effective, I can tell you that much, and super duper fun. Highly recommend it. This dude is going to be my guy this patch for sure.
Based on the results that I've seen, if that's not the meta, I am terrified. Please let that be the meta, because if it's not, oh my gosh.
What's cool too about it is we're very much in a proc meta right now, and this feels like a very non-cheesy, very fair build. This feels like a build that I'm not going to get any hate whispers for, right? Because it's not any passive venomous smite or any of that kind of stuff. I have to use my abilities to kill people. Now you might consider it to be a cheesy amount of damage that this dude's packing, like stats wise, but you still have to use the abilities to kill people. So I think I like that. I think being on the receiving end of it, it's never fun to die, but at least maybe feels fair, as opposed to just casting one ability and then all these procs go off and do all the work for you, which is very, very common these days.
I agree with you and disagree with you there. I think that build is 100% not cheesy. I don't think that you can claim that with the build at all. But with the kill count that I've seen him get, I do think you're going to get some hate whispers. I do think those are going to head your way. But we always joke that once you get a hate whisper for doing really well in a battleground, that's how you know the build works. That's your true christening that, all right, this build's
That's
good to go.
You go ahead and gold out the jewelry right then.
that's how you know that's that final step right there.
Yeah. So we paired these guys up. My StamSorc, your StamSorc. What's going on with your StamSorc these days, dude?
First of all, I have to. This is maybe one of my favorite nicknames, and you came up with this last night when we were doing the Battlegrounds. The Torque Sorcs.
Yeah. Dual Torque Sorcs.
Dual Torque Sorcs. Love it. Can't get over the name. Fantastic. The biggest change that I actually am going to do with my StamSorc, we were running and we kind of, with the Battlegrounds, we were kind of really able to get a good test on this sustain. And my StamSorc has always been this yin and yang build where it's a lot of sustain, but a lot of, weapon damage. And really more so with the two main sets. So the Ancient Dragon Guard, which is, an above 50% ability, below 50% ability, along with Eternal Vigor, which does the same thing. And then obviously you have the torque of, the torque that does kind of the same thing. But really, you kind of gave me this for, you kind of planted the seed in my head. But with this extra sustain, he really doesn't need the full sustain set. It's kind of an opportunity to kind of get more. So
you're
damage.
referring to the major minor endurance was like majorly buffed this patch. Right? So like everyone in the game has like a ton more sustain than they did before.
Right. And it's live. It's out there. It's you get that huge buff. So I'm probably going to end up actually dropping Eternal Vigor. But when we were kind of playing around with different characters, I actually have a set of 7th Legion on another one of my characters, and I think I'm going to move it over to my StamSorc. So nice. It's going to be a lot of extra damage. We talked about how well that the 7th Legion buff, it's 15-second buff, and it works really well on StamSorcs because they're unique that their armor buff lasts 15 seconds. And so that's kind of a perfect pairing there. And I like
which is normally really annoying about a StamSorc because 15 seconds feels like no time at all.
It feels like you're spamming that ability.
But for that, it's actually kind of nice because for a Sorc, your armor buff, the visual effect is super obvious. So you can just clearly see, oh, my armor buff isn't up. That means my damage buff isn't up either.
Exactly. That's pretty cool. Maybe one of the best things for 7th Legion is that Sorc, because like you said, you will obviously know when your damage buff isn't up. And it's so nice that they have the same duration. So I'm going to switch 7th Legion over to get more damage out of it. And it's nice too. Eternal Vigor, for those who don't remember, is that above 50%, you're getting extra sustain. And below
50% health.
Yes, when you're above 50% health, sorry. And then when you're below 50% health, you get about 1,000 health recovery. And so the health recovery is still really nice. The sustain I don't really need. But 7th Legion is also going to be giving me some health recovery. So it's going to kind of make up for that health recovery loss, but it's really going to switch that sustain to damage, which is kind of the perfect change in my mind, what I'm really trying to do with what Battlegrounds are right now. So I haven't actually made this change, but it's like I said, I've already got that 7th Legion set, so it's just a matter of moving gear around. But I'm really excited to kind of make that change for the StamSorc.
What weapons are you using on that guy again?
Dual daggers, precise daggers, just like yours. At some point, our StamSorcs will just meld into this one being.
I know. It's slowly happening.
But yeah, so I had a lot of fun with the StamSorc. I actually, this was kind of funny. I ended up playing with him last night due to a bug with the launch. I originally wanted to throw my werewolf out there, Gift of the Rift. I gotta throw the name plug in there.
Always.
But for those of you, I think a lot of people are aware, there's a bug right now, and I know that the werewolf ultimate is part of the bug. I know there's some other skills too. I don't know those skills off the top of my head. Maybe you know that, but basically what the bug is that when you log in, the werewolf ultimate ability is off your bar. And then when you look at your skills, it's reset back to level 1, no morph, 0 experience. So when I logged in today and they still hadn't fixed it, I just was like, you know what? There's an experience grind right now. Let me pop an experience scroll. I'll take advantage of the event. And I just went and leveled it up, morphed it again, and got it just to the level 1 morph. And I really just did this because I was like, all right, let me hop into Battlegrounds just because I want to play with this guy.
You're wanting to play with this dude.
Yeah, I want to play with this werewolf. He's kind of my most recent character I wanted to finish, and I wanted to do some group Battlegrounds. Well, I took a Waste Shrine to a different zone. I actually went to Markarth to look around the new town. I hadn't had a chance to really get over there. And then I told you, I said, all right, I think I'm ready. Let's do this. And then I looked and I went, oh, wait a minute. The bug is very persistent. It actually, when you leave the zone, it reset the ability. It took it off my bar again and erased all the experience that I had gained leveling it back up. So that's a rough bug. And
so just don't touch your werewolves till this thing is fixed.
If you have any character that has these skills to doing this, just don't even touch them. Don't even log in with them, because even if you try to level up the ability, it will erase it as soon as you leave the zone. It was either when I left the zone or relogged with the character. I can't remember which one because I was switching characters around a lot. But essentially, the bug repeated itself. It erased all the experience I gained, and important to note, I think, is that it steals your skill point. So it erases it, but you don't get your skill points back. So when I re-leveled up and remorphed it, I just spent another skill point, and it stole my second skill point. So announcement there for anybody that thinks on my mindset, if they're like, well, I'll just level it up so I can play with it. Don't do that. That bug will come back to get you.
Hopefully you get both of those skill points back,
I'm a little worried about that. Hopefully, I don't know how they're going to fix that. That's a whole different thing. But I'm hoping I can get both those skill points back and not just the one from the original one. But hopefully they have some way of resetting that. But one day I'm hoping to play with the werewolf. He just is at the point where I just got him, where he's kind of all of his gears coming together and everything's kind of working out. To where I was getting into the battlegrounds that I wanted to do. So I'm still excited to play with them. Probably the biggest thing that I would mention about him is, man, oh man, did I underestimate that increased poison damage passive.
Oh, yeah. Especially the meta right now.
Exactly.
Venomous Smite running around everywhere.
Exactly. I think it wouldn't be as, it's a 25% increased poison damage, which is, that's huge.
Quite a bit. It's like a Malakath Band of Brutality if you were to face off against Bobby.
Exactly. And I think that's the part that it's like two puzzle pieces that I was very aware of. Like, I knew the buff existed and I knew that poison was all over the meta right now. But it's just like, I didn't put those two puzzle pieces together until I started really doing some of these real battlegrounds at like a real MMR. And I was like, oh yeah, there's a lot of poison in battlegrounds right now. So
yeah, a lot.
I still think the build's going to work great because he was getting, he gets kills, he does the damage to get kills, but he gets hit hard from some characters, which quite a few because of the poison out there. So he's one that if they get that bug fixed, I'm really, really excited to pair him. We're talking about these fun pairings. Really excited to pair him with a healer, one of your support characters or some sort of healer. I think it's going to be a really cool pairing if we can get that set up.
Yeah, you had mentioned before actually that you thought it would be cool to run your werewolf with my stamina warden healer, Hambone, and how that could be a cool pair. And I think you're really onto something there. And that was, I don't know, a week or so ago when you mentioned that, but I've been thinking about it ever since because I've been trying to come up with a list of kind of what are the advantages of being a stamina healer? Like, what do they bring to the table? Why would a team want a stamina healer versus a typical magicka healer? So I think that right there is one great example. A werewolf is a very fast-paced, very aggressive play style. And Hambone here, being a wood elf in medium armor with a bow, he's over the speed cap, so he can keep up with anybody.
Yeah, which is huge because not many healers are going to be able to keep up with the werewolf. I think that's massive.
Yeah, and being a stamina build, he has the stamina sustained to keep going and going and going if he needs to sprint for long periods of time to stay up with the team. If you're rolling with a full stamina squad and everyone moves really fast, you're going to be able to stay right up in the action with them.
Yeah. And I think that's really cool too, because, when you do a group in a battleground and if you have a healer, the strategy is kind of like, all right, let's stick with the healer. You always kind of want to keep the healer in. Well, this style of play is really going to be, the healer's really going to be able to keep up with the group. You don't really have to worry about sticking with the healer because the healer's going to be right there the whole time.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because the way all the abilities work, it's like melee healing. Like you have to be close to your teammates to be effective.
I just imagine that like a character's getting stabbed and old Hambone's like sticking a band-aid right after, like, oh, I got you, bud. Don't worry. Let me patch that right there. All right, continue.
Yeah. That's hilarious. So that athletic style of play, I think, is one big advantage in PvP anyway. In PvE, I don't think there really are any serious advantages other than it just being fun. But it's really just from a PvP perspective.
Sure.
One, I think maybe the biggest advantage is that nobody suspects that you're the healer. Mm-hmm. And I've noticed this again and again. I've been playing with this guy a lot here lately. You can seriously just be standing in front of someone and spamming healing abilities right in front of their face, and they don't connect the dots that this guy holding the daggers or holding the bow is the group's primary healer. So it just does not compute, and so you end up not getting focused the way healers typically do. And even if someone does catch wind that you're the healer and starts trying to focus you, you're a medium armor roly-poly stamina build, so it's so easy to just disengage, slip away, use your speed-capped movement speed to reposition, get to a safe vantage point, keep healing the team. So in PvP, I think there actually are a number of really nice advantages to being a stamina healer versus a magicka healer. I don't know if it totally outweighs.
Sure.
Magicka healers are super powerful, but there at least are some things you can say, like, this is why I want to be a stamina healer because they do these things. I like that.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, you talk about kind of if someone actually does realize the focus. Another point is that you can run right into your group. Like you said, that melee healing, you can run right into the group, and that makes it hard to target the healer if they're right in the middle of the team, right in melee range. You're not going to land all your abilities on that healer.
Yeah, totally. I mentioned using dual daggers. I talked about him 3 weeks ago. I talked about thinking about putting daggers on his back bar instead of a two-hander. I went ahead and did that. I think that was a very good move. I can definitely tell a big difference in just the amount of healing that he does. So dual daggers on the back bar, I think, is probably the best way to go for a stamina healer. I've also noticed that Blood Altar, what's that? Is it an Undaunted ability?
I think it's an Undaunted, yeah.
That's one of the main healing abilities I've been using. That ability is straight OP in certain situations. And I think the sweatier the match, the more you're getting out of Blood Altar. So it costs a paltry amount of health, like such a tiny amount of health to cast. I consider it to be a free cast, basically. And it puts this little altar on the ground. And then it applies minor lifesteal to everyone in a 28-meter radius. So that's like a 56-meter area huge. Total. So it's like just everyone.
Yeah, the map.
Basically.
That's the battleground
just literally
map.
Just everyone. Yeah, and in the sweaty matches, man, everyone has a ton of AoE damage that they're throwing around everywhere. So if you have caltrops on the ground and you have a few enemies standing in that, then all of those enemies are getting minor lifesteal, and so your ally is getting that heal over time from all of those enemies being affected by that AoE. So usually when I look at combat metrics after a match and I look at like what abilities are doing the most healing, this is usually number one, Blood Altar. And it's one that I think can fly under the radar because you look at it, you read the tooltip, and minor lifesteal, it's a pretty small heal over time. But when you consider that AoE factor and how you can be getting it from several different enemies at once, it can actually be super duper strong.
Yeah. And I think, you know, since you told me about this skill and how well it was working out, I've been excited. You know, this is one of the reasons I was excited for this pairing. But I think a huge part of this too is, you know, the Undaunted passive. You know, this works. You know, obviously everybody, when they think the Undaunted passive, you think, all right, the max stats. Well, there's that other Undaunted passive when you activate the ally synergy that you restore a bunch of your max stats, and this. You know, this is a common way to take full advantage of that passive.
I think it provides a synergy.
Exactly. And I think that's a huge part to this too, because that's an additional heal on top of this heal that's already working. Just by you know, I got to look up the numbers, but I think it's like when you activate it, you restore 4% of your health, stamina, and magicka. So just another bonus to this ability. I'm really excited to pair this up, like I said, with the werewolf, but really with anybody. I think it's going to be really exciting to.
Any like Stam squad. Yep. I think like if we're doing an all Stam squad, we need a healer. No question, man. Let me get Hambone.
Heck yeah.
But just a quick reminder, we're talking about this build. I haven't even said what the build is. I mean, I've said it in past episodes, but a quick reminder, it's just Powerful Assault, Hircine's Veneer, Mighty Chudan. It's just a 5.5.2 setup. Bow in the front bar, dual precise daggers on the back bar. I like it a lot. We'll probably be doing a build spotlight for this character in the near future. This is one that I've kind of been sinking a lot of time and energy into because I've just been really fascinated with the idea of a stamina healer and how to make a good one. And I think this is a pretty good one. I think I have him pretty much locked in. Just got to finish getting a couple of passives unlocked, and that's pretty much it. I think he's already got all the gear, all the right traits. It's everything's in place. So look out for a spotlight on that in the next couple of episodes. On the topic of healers, Davis, you're telling me that there's you have some ideas for your main healer, your magPlar. Actually, you guys share a name, right? Davius Starjumper.
Old Davius Starjumper, what started it all.
Started it all. You've been dropping these hints that you have something cooking here. So what gives? What's the deal?
There's some juiciness here. So I feel like I got to prepare you here. Just prepare yourself a little bit. So,
oh no. Okay.
First of all, I just have to say the group battlegrounds. I'm so excited to actually bring Davius back. He has 100% been a tank since solo battlegrounds. I tried it out
like a PvE tank.
Yes, a PvE dungeon tank is really what he's been. I stopped doing battlegrounds with him. He just didn't work. He is. Just to remind people, his PvP setup is 100% heals. He does 0 damage. He uses the passive from the Sigic Order. Well, it's not a passive, but the ability from the Sigic Order that actually turns his light and heavy attacks into heals. And so he actually does not have any damage abilities and just heals. And it just wasn't working for the single queue, the solo queue battlegrounds. So I'm extremely excited to be able to bring him back. I've actually got to, and we tested him out last night, but I really kind of realized that I've got some changes I have to make to him because I've transitioned him so much into being a tank that I kind of have to switch some things back to make him kind of the PvP healer, which I will be doing, and just some updates. He really hasn't been updated for PvP. Like he's still wearing full impin. And not that you can't do that, but I think there's some extra benefits that he can get by
leaving some stuff on the table by going all in pin these days. Yeah.
So the big juicy change, and I feel like you really have to prepare yourself for this because this is kind of what started his build. Is the Cold Harbor's favorite is where it summons if you deal damage, it has a chance to do an AOE damage, or if you heal, it has a chance for an AOE heal. I actually am probably going to be dropping Cold Harbor's favorite from the Davius build.
No more honor.
No more honor. But you got
There's the episode title.
You got me on that one. You got me on that. I walked right into it. So, but here's the thing: is that the Davius heal build is very unique, just in the sense it deals no damage. But it's also really unique in the stats. Is that really his sustain is when I use the healing ultimate, the ritual, is that what it's called? I can't remember the name, Billy, off the top of my head, but I use the healing ultimate where it's the Templar healing ultimate, And really, when he's casting that, that's really what I use for sustain, is that he has Shulks as one of his sets, and he's a Nord. And so he builds that ultimate up, and then I pop that ultimate, and while I'm casting that, I just wait for my magic to build back up. So usually by the time I'm done casting it, I have enough to get right back to the ultimate again, cast it, and just kind of rinse, repeat. Well, as I've said in past episodes, I'm extremely excited for this Pearls of El Nefeh mythic item. As soon as I read it, I said, all right, this is my new favorite mythic. It's going right on Davius. It's perfect for his setup. And to remind those, if you don't know off the top of your head what it does, essentially when you cast a heal, and your main resource is under, I think it's under 30%.
I think that's right.
Then you gain 5 ultimate. So as I said, Davius is not a sustain. He's usually always empty, and so he doesn't have a lot of sustain. So it's very common to be under 30% sustain with him, and it'll just build ultimate. And I don't think there's a cap on that. I really want to test it out because all he does is heal. So if that 5 is just going to be stacking every heal I have with the dots and the extended ritual, that can amount to a lot of ultimate. And so,
well, I think you have to cast. It's like when you cast the ability.
Sure, but
right?
and yeah, exactly. But his spammable is Breath of Life. So he should be getting quite a bit of ultimate. And so with that, I'm going to kind of go fully into surprise, an ultimate build. And so I think I'm going to take the Cold Harbor's favorite off, and I'm actually going to put potentates on there, a 3-piece potentates, to actually reduce the cost of his ultimate a little bit. So get that a little bit lower, easier to cast. And then probably do, 1-piece trainee, and then have the Pearls of El Nefeh. And so he'll actually have Shulks, 3-piece potentates, the Pearls of El Nefeh, and then the Chokethorn monster set, which that was kind of really what I was deciding is, all right, do I want to drop Chokethorn or do I want to drop Cold Harbor's favorite?
Chokethorn is so strong.
Yeah, and Chokethorn just won for me because as much as I love Cold Harbor's favorite, and that, like I said, that's really kind of what started the build, is how can I make Cold Harbor's favorite be 100% heals? Well, if I deal no damage, then it's 100% heal AoE. And it's a strong heal, but it compared to Chokethorn is a smart heal, and it's such a strong smart heal. It almost just takes a member of my team, and I just don't have to worry about that person. Chokethorn has that person. I'll focus on the others.
And you don't have to worry about them standing in the right place and the way you do with Cold Harbor's favorite.
Exactly, and you just said it, is that Cold Harbor's, I love it, but that AoE, there's so many missed heals and missed opportunities.
It misses a lot.
Yep, happening out there. Because I can't control where it pops up. It just kind of pops up. And so Chokethorn ended up winning over in that. And so I still have to put the build together. I have to farm the pearls. But I'm really...
That is surprising. I thought you were like really attached to that little Guar.
I do love that set. I'll still have it. I don't think I'll use it just because without this build, I don't think it'll work. But I do love that set. I still it's one of my favorites.
It was fun for a while.
It was a lot of fun, and it's still.
We got really attached to that little guy, the little Guar that pops up and heals us. Hey man, he's saved my butt so many times. We need to do like a Bill Brasky toast to the little Guar.
This one's for you, Honor.
Did I ever tell you about the time?
I mean, you've played with me enough, even in the past when we've done group battlegrounds. You've heard me probably yell many a time, "Save me, Guar!" Is there so many times
you've prayed? Yes. You've prayed to Honor many times.
Many a times in the middle of a swampy match. I've prayed to that little Guar to save me when I'm getting focused. But I'm really excited for what this new style could be, because I really think he's just going to be. I mean, that ultimate is just going to be happening a lot. I think Potentates is going to reduce the cost by about 15%, and I think it costs somewhere around 120. So we're looking probably, I don't know the quick math off my head, but somewhere between 10, 20 ultimate dropping off of that. So it's going to be somewhere around 100 ultimate, maybe a little bit less than that. And he's already a Nord. He's already got Shulks. I'm going to have the Pearls. I think he's just going to be constantly popping that ultimate. And if anybody's been in a battleground, they know when a Templar pops that ultimate that it's kind of like, all right, he popped that ultimate, let me move away and find someone else to hit. And once that ends, I'll go right back at him. And so I'm hoping just to be constantly almost fit that ultimate into my rotation. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Nice, man. Yeah, you already like popped that thing almost on cooldown, it seems. So that'll be sweet. Right on, man. Any other builds or BG stuff you want to talk about before we move along?
I think it's interesting to me with these changes. I mean, I don't know if you've looked at it a lot, but I've a lot of my characters, I'm kind of moving things around, which kind of surprised me. So like right now, I talked about the 7th Legion on my StamSorc. So I'm moving that from my StamPlar to my StamSorc. The Potentates is actually on my stamDK. And so I'm actually taking the Potentates from my stamDK and moving it to, as I said, Davius. And I'll probably just put Werewolf Hide back on my stamDK just to kind of go. That's a full ultimate build. And so I've already got that in the bank. He used to wear that. So it's been kind of funny to me how I'm kind of taking sets and kind of shifting them around. I'm going to have to find a new set to replace the 7th Legion on my StamPlar. But I've been kind of wanting to take that set off my StamPlar, so I'm excited for kind of an opportunity to find a good use for it on my StamSorc to see now kind of opens up what I can do with my StamPlar. I'm taking recommendations for what my new StamPlar set could be. My
scrollingpodcast@gmail.com. What should Davius's StamPlar build be?
StamPlar is...
We should do like some kind of contest where someone gets to... Whatever someone says your build is, that's what it has to be.
Please send in 100 emails that all recommend Stoons. First character to wear their Stoons.
Finally did it.
Finally happened, everyone. What about you? Any other changes that you're thinking about or focusing on?
Oh, only like a million.
all the characters, all the above.
It's just my head is swirling with so many possibilities. I won't go into any details, but I have a cool idea for a magSorc like hybrid.
Oh, I'm excited about this one.
Hybrid as in damage and healing, not as in stamina and magicka. It's a magicka sorcerer, but it's I ended up deciding to not use the Pale Order ring for my StamSorc, so I've been trying to think of a new way to use it, and I think on a magSorc healer could be really cool, because you think about if I'm also wearing the Redistributor set along with Spell Power Cure, which I've already been using on my magSorc. So if I'm wearing those two sets, Redistributor, whenever I overheal myself, it sends a heal to a nearby ally. So if I'm using Ring of the Pale Order and I'm damaging enemies, that damage is causing me to heal myself, which then causes that Redistributor set to heal someone else. And then if that overheals them, it'll proc Spell Power Cure on them. And of course, Spell Power Cure already procced on me. Anyway, I said I wasn't going to get into details, but
I'm excited for that build with you. I can't wait to see that one. I love the idea that you've taken Pale Order, this solo play, forget the rest of the team. This is a solo, and you've taken it and turned it into a group item that is going to be fantastic for a group support damage character. I can't wait to see that build in action. I think that's going to be awesome.
That's the idea. I mean, we'll just have to see. I haven't gotten the Pale Order yet, and who knows how effective it'll be, but the idea seems viable. I think it could work. And it's not my only, the build will have other healing stuff going on as well. So I think it'll be the cool thing about a magSorc as a support character to me has always been that they're really good about providing support while staying on offense and still being a magSorc and getting lots of kills and doing lots of damage while also passively providing this nice blanket of support. So I'm trying to lean into that a little bit, and I think the Pale Order ring can really play into that very nicely.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that one.
Yep. So a bunch of other stuff that I'm fiddling with, but we can talk about that in future episodes when those have kind of come together a little bit more. But that's pretty much been the last couple of weeks. We missed last week's episode, so I'm kind of catching up a little bit with stuff we've been up to.
Yeah, that was a little unexpected.
Now, it may surprise you, but there was more than just grouping returning to Battlegrounds.
No, we talked about this. That's all we needed out of this patch. Best patch ever. They brought group Battlegrounds back. That's all we needed. It's done.
There was some other stuff though. This is the Markarth DLC. I think it's so hilarious. It's taken us an hour into our podcast to talk about the new DLC.
About the actual DLC of the patch. Sure.
So it's Q4. It's the Markarth DLC. This is always the Q4 in my mind is always a very like story focused. It's about exploring this zone, getting into the story, doing some role play. You know, there's other stuff going on with the DLC, of course, but in my mind, that's kind of what it's always about in Q4.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been trying to start to get into. I mean, the patch just dropped yesterday, so we're just barely scratching the surface right now. But Davis, I would ask you a question. If you had one word to describe the launch of this patch, what word might you choose?
I'm gonna go with sticking with the Nord theme. I'm gonna say a little tipsy. It's a little tipsy.
Okay.
A little tipsy on the launch.
That's a good word for it. Maybe, yeah. A little buggy maybe is another word that you might use. A lot of bugs in this patch. Not to say, I mean, I think it's a good patch conceptually, but there are some bugs. And there, you know, it's not the worst I've seen. Honestly, I've seen some patches with some bad bugs. All right, some real bad bugs. There's a few fairly bad ones here. In particular, there's a light attack weaving bug, especially on like ranged attacks. That's pretty bad. But the thing is, what sets my mind at ease is pretty much every significant bug that I've seen reported, the developers have confirmed that they're aware of it and that they're working on it. Mm-hmm. So honestly, as long as we get that kind of chime in from the developers, I feel like I can relax and trust that eventually that's going to get worked out and it's no big deal.
Yeah.
I feel like there's going to be bugs now and then.
Yeah, and they all seem, fixable. Like you said, the developers have said they're aware of them, and they all seem like fixable bugs. It's a little surprising to me. I don't know your thoughts on it. Leading up to this was an interesting PTS patch note cycle, is that it was like we hit that one update, and it was like all this stuff. And then it was like, it seemed like every PTS patch notes since then was like bug fixes. And I think it just caught me off guard. That probably was a precursor to something that I just wasn't aware of, but I took it as, wow, like this thing's really going to be perfect at launch. Like they are cleaning up. They are really polishing this thing. This is going to have a polished launch. And I think I just totally misread that, is that there was a lot of bug fixes in those patch notes, because they were seeing a lot of bugs with this.
There were a lot of bugs. Yeah.
That was why there were so many bug fixes in there.
Yeah, that might have had something to do with it, it seems. Although, I don't know, some of these, like that light attack weaving thing, I don't think was even on PTS.
Yeah, there's definitely some unintended kind of out of the blue stuff that happened for sure. Same thing with the skill bug. The werewolf is how I mentioned it, but there's other abilities that's same exact issues happening on.
Yeah, but in my past experience, if the developers acknowledge that they're aware of that bug, that usually means they think they know how to fix it. So I don't know. I'm just kind of relaxing and trusting that stuff's going to work itself out.
All that to be said, like I'm right there with you. I have no concerns about it, and I think it's going to be fixed pretty quick. I'd be even willing to bet that by next episode, where a lot of these are already going to be probably cleaned up.
Hopefully so, especially that light attack weaving one. Have you had a chance to check out the new solo arena yet?
I have not. You've already said no more honor for me, and I have to use that again, because I haven't explored. We're only one day in, but I as the all things Nord, never ending Nord, Lord of Nords, all the character names. I haven't really explored the zone very much. I went to the zone for the first time just a little bit earlier today, and so it's probably
you better enjoy it while you still can, man.
I know it's the
year of the Nord is coming to a close.
I can't even talk about that. That's You know, in my mind, it's always the year of the Nord. You bring any expansion, I'm going to bring the Nords to that expansion. Don't you worry. But I really gotta dive into this zone more. I haven't really had a chance to. I've been so focused on the group battlegrounds and tinkering with characters that I really haven't fully, dove into this new zone and the new town.
What's interesting is it's actually not very Nord-centric at all from what I've seen. It's all Reachman.
It's all Reachman.
It's all these Reachman people, and they're pretty cool. Like I don't know, a few quests into the main story, and I've kind of starting to get to know these Reachman folks, and they're kind of an interesting people. I like this this race of like barbaric magic users. They're like these witch people.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool. And you can definitely tell that story-wise, they're trying to paint these Reachmen in a new light. They've been misunderstood. Yeah, they're wary and hostile towards outsiders, but just like in the real world, people who are hostile towards outsiders, they probably have a really good reason for it. They've probably had experiences in the past that made them that way. And we're kind of uncovering a bit of that, which I think is really neat and reflects, like I said, real world stuff.
Yeah. I will say that what I've seen of the brief, just like I said, just brief walkthroughs and stuff, I'm really excited about especially Markarth, the town. Really, really cool. Well designed. Like you said, I think what I really liked is what you told me. You really kind of described it, is they did some really cool stuff vertically. And that's such a perfect way to explain it, is there's all these stairs, and it gets really high up, really tall, a lot of like really high sights. I talked about this on past episodes, but I think I'm going to relocate. I think my home is going to move to this town. I think it's, as long as I stay in Skyrim, stay in a Nord zone. I know you're not calling it a Nord zone, but hey.
A Nord among Reachmen. Never thought I'd see the day.
This is Nordlands. You can't, don't let those Reachmen tell you otherwise. This is Nordlands here.
You're occupying. I see. I checked out the Vatishran arena a little bit. I tried it on normal, thinking it was like 30 minutes before I had to go to work, and I was thinking I'm just going to knock this out on normal real quick, see what it's about. And it's split into 3 different kind of sub arenas. So I went into one of them, the Hersine, the Hunter's Grotto one. And I could not beat the last boss, which I tried, I think 3 times, but I wiped all 3 times. I think there's just some mechanic there that I'm not privy to that's like, just didn't know how to stay alive. So I need to, watch the Alcast guide or something.
What character did you run it on?
I was on my main Magblade, my PvE main Magblade. And it's cool. There's some neat, there's a grappling hook that you can use, which if you've done the Southern Elsewhere quests, you've seen that before. But it's really neat. It's not just a gimmick. It's actually, you use it in the boss fight. Like it's a mechanic in the boss fight. And I think that's really neat.
That is really neat. That's exciting.
Yeah. So I need to learn those mechanics and give that another shot. But it is cool. It looks really cool. I like the design of it. Way better design than the other arenas where it's like wave after enemy. It really is more like a solo dungeon that you're working your way through. So I do like that.
That's really neat. I kind of wondered about that, if it was going to be kind of like the arenas where it's just wave and then you move. So it actually is kind of a pathway dungeon style.
Yeah, totally. It's arena. Totally that. Very cool. Yeah, I don't think. My understanding is the whole thing is that way. I don't know if there's like any wave based encounters at all.
That's awesome.
And I think we're just kind of waiting for the dust to settle on these major minor buff and debuff changes. I feel like the jury's still out on that. I can't believe that no further adjustments were ever made on that. It seems pretty drastic. So I don't know. I'm curious to see how things play out. One thing that I think we haven't mentioned in past episodes, but major and minor courage, those damage buffs that like spell power cure gives you major courage, was nearly doubled. Major courage is 430 weapon and spell damage now instead of 258. So it used to be like if you were wearing spell power cure, you were giving your teammates basically the equivalent of like a warrior Mundus stone or something like that. Now you're giving them the equivalent of like New Moon Acolyte or better than New Moon Acolyte.
That's wild. I mean, that's a huge buff.
I mean, spell power cure is great to use just as your own selfish damage set now. 430 weapon and spell damage from any overhealing. That, that's pretty awesome, actually.
Yeah, I'm excited about this too. On go back to my werewolf build. I did the pact morph that it won't give it to me right now, but that actually gives minor courage. So another buff to that. So it actually is going to give team buff. So I'm with you. I can't believe these have just remained unchanged and really untalked about. Like, they kind of announced it, and then it's like they've forgotten that they did it or something. I don't know. It's like,
it's interesting, and in some ways, it kind of makes it easier to like put builds together. Like when I'm trying to decide like what abilities to slot or whatever. Like, I feel like Camo Hunter is a great example. Camo Hunter has fallen off of several of my characters' bars because it's like, well, that minor berserk isn't so enticing anymore. I don't really think I have to have it the way like I used to feel like I was really missing out if I didn't have that.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. I'm doing the same thing. Camo Hunter's dropping on a lot of my builds.
Yep. So anyway, Markarth, I think we'll probably have more to say about Markarth maybe next week or the week after. We got to get in there, do some quests, have some experiences that we can talk about. Tear ourselves away from Battlegrounds for 10 minutes to do a quest or two.
We gotta really step away from the group Battlegrounds if we're able to. But every now and then we'll get some quests in there, and we'll explore this new zone.
Yeah, we'll get in there, and I'm sure it'll be great. Q4, the story is always pretty cool. No emails this week, but if you'd like to send us an email, you can email us at scrollinpodcast@gmail.com. That's scrollin with an I-N, no G, scrollinpodcast@gmail.com. A few shout-outs. I want to shout out to GrizzlyCon, Mr. Moon, and Murph. Those are some guild members that helped me farm some sword dancer pieces out of the Blessed Crucible for my StamSorc, and Grizzly was actually got one of the daggers that I needed, so big thanks to you guys. That build is totally complete and done and finished, and it's like the best build in the world, so I appreciate it very, very much.
For all those players now, when you send Tane those hate messages, you can also forward that to the Stoons Goons guild members.
I will be forwarding all hate whispers to Grizzly, Mr. Moon, and Murph. We'll blind carbon copy all of you. So those guys are members of our guild, which is called Stoons Goons. We are a social guild that somewhat focuses on PvP, but of course we do it all. Main thing we really do is just kind of hang out in Discord and talk about build ideas, honestly, for the most part. Maybe swap some memes, tell some jokes here and there. Now that group BGs are up, we're going to be taking every possible opportunity to do that. Really, everyone is welcome to join up. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. All experience levels welcome. You just have to be CP 160, I guess would be the only rule. CP 160 or above. But as far as like you've never done Battlegrounds, you've never done PvP at all, well, hey, jump on board. Let us carry you. It'll be fun.
Yeah,
it'll
be a lot of fun.
I don't know if we can make that promise to carry you or not. But,
we'll have fun, whatever the result.
It'll be a great way to learn. Absolutely, to have some people with a little bit of experience and all that. We'll be on Discord. I think we probably would for like the pre-made nights. I think we would kind of require that people be on Discord, but not that you talk, right? You can mute yourself. You just you need to be able to hear when we're saying like, let's position over here or whatever. Anyway,
don't you all worry. We've all got our Stoons set on. We all love that set. It's
Don't ask, don't tell. Set. We're just assuming you're wearing Stoons. We're not going to ask any questions.
We just trust everybody is wearing their Stoon set. Nobody's even worried about it.
I'm thinking Tuesday nights is probably going to end up being the night where most of it goes down, just because my schedule is kind of weird, and that's the time that's going to be most convenient for me. Could possibly do Wednesday nights instead if people like that better, so we could talk about that. But for now, I think we're going to be moving it to Tuesday nights. And I think we'll probably keep Friday night as like an unofficial goon night where, you know, if I can, if we're up for it, if we can make it happen, we'll do it on a Friday night, because that's when some people, that's the only time they're available. So I still want to like try to make that happen, like Goon Junior. That's the Goon Junior night.
Goon Junior. Well, and it's cool. You know, maybe someday we'll get to a point where, you know, Tuesday night, Goon night, that's our battleground. We're grouping up for battlegrounds. Maybe Friday becomes like Imperial City. You know, we'll figure this out, but we'll get it really set up.
So I think that's about going to wrap it up for episode 37. Thank you guys very much for listening. I hope we see you next time for episode number 38.